May's Most Valuable Player Trophy presented by Chevrolet. Is there any doubt? Corey Seager.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live. Coming at you after a not very fun weekend in Seattle. Not an awesome weekend in Texas sports for us here at Right on Rangers. Maybe the Longhorns salvaged the weekend. I mean, it was nice to get a little Rangers win there on Sunday, but you know what? It's one of those seasons for the Rangers, at least, that probably just needs to go ahead and end sooner rather than later. So, first of all, before we get into everything here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports. We put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers, and especially the Rangers during baseball season. Appreciate you joining us and choosing us for your Rangers content. We're going to also cover Cowboys today, Longhorns. We're going to do a little bit of everything in the show today. Took a couple of days off. My bad for going a little radio silent. A lot going on at my house over the weekend. A lot of good stuff, family in town, all that. So took a couple of days, but I am back ready to go and got a lot to say. The Rangers, let's start with them. Finished up a 3-game set. Last home games of the season against the Mariners. First 2 games were pretty ugly. Let's just be honest. The first 2 games, quite ugly for the Texas Rangers. Friday night, Saturday night. A familiar story. The offense just incredibly putrid and just looking like a shell of what they were last year completely. Now, they do end up tacking on some runs. I believe they scored 6 runs over the first 2 games. I mean, could have been worse, right? And if we take it box score by box score here, I'm going to focus on the win a little bit more on Sunday. But the Rangers dropped Friday night 8-2. And the Mariners put on a little hip parade at the top of the lineup. Julio Rodriguez went off in this series, and the Rangers just kept on giving him pitches to hit. So game 1 on Friday night, just to recap, Robles 2 for 4, Julio 3 for 5, 5 RBI. And this was on a night when Jacob deGrom came out, threw 3 innings, 1 earned run. So just to summarize Friday night, the 2 big takeaways for me, deGrom looking like deGrom. Look, I'll take 3 innings, 1 earned run, 5 Ks. Dude's got a 1.35 ERA on the year. I'll take that for your first innings back in professional baseball in 16 months. I think most of us are going to take what we got from Jacob deGrom Friday night. Jack Leiter continues to be a bit of an anomaly for me. A bit of an anomaly. I really don't know what to do with Jack Leiter. I don't know what the Rangers are going to do for Jack Leiter. No clue. I really don't know, don't have an idea of what they're thinking at this point, but it can't be good. It can't be good. I mean, look, the reality is the Rangers have some decisions to make in the offseason about spending. They have a couple of different things that they are going to have to think about internally. And I just think that at this point, with Jack Leiter, clearly not ready. Not ready. And I think Friday night, perfect example. You've got 5 innings pitched, 7 runs, 6 earned. I know Leiter was a bit of an innings eater, but for me personally, you cannot keep excusing Leiter. Can't keep excusing Leiter. It was one of those games, innings eater. You know, he's just trying to get us through the game, blah, blah, blah. I heard a lot of excuses afterwards. And look, I know I've been off the map for a couple of days here, but I really don't feel like at this point Jack Leiter is a guy that we're really going to be able to count on in 2025. I think that he will still be given an opportunity to make the roster. I think that they are absolutely going to have an opportunity to see what he's got during that month. But at the same time, I think if I'm sitting there right now trying to make a decision, I'm not counting on Jack Leiter to be the 5th starter. Not counting on that at all. So, with that being said, I think that at this point, go out, maybe try and get you some kind of starter, maybe a 1-year guy. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I don't know what the best options are going to be for Texas in the free agent market. But at this point, we'll see what happens. I think, though, that Jack Leiter needs a little bit more time. Needs more time, maybe in the minor leagues. I feel like we've seen him enough in that spot, and it kind of just keeps on replaying the same track over and over. Great in the minors, comes up in the majors, and it looks like there's something to be desired. Personally, I really, really hope that we get Jack Leiter in peak form, performing in the major leagues. I just don't know if it's going to happen in 2025. Maybe more time is needed. And maybe that's all it is. Maybe a little bit more time is needed in this one. But it does seem like quickly Jack Leiter turning into a player that the Rangers have quite a few of. And it's a term that we affectionately call quadruple A. Really, really good down in triple A. A lot of hope, a lot of promise. Then comes up to the major leagues, and you have a complete opposite effect of what you saw down at triple A before the call up. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Leiter. But my two biggest takeaways from Friday night: Julio Rodriguez, can we stop pitching to him? That's take one. Take two, good to see Jacob deGrom back and pitching well for the Rangers. And Jack Leiter, we've already covered. I really, really hope that the Rangers are able to get him going, get him in a groove, help him find the click, and all the other figurative language expressions you can come up with. But not good. First round pick, second overall. You'd like Jack Leiter to be a little bit further ahead than what he is right now. Dooley, by the way, in that Friday night game, 3 hits. Zeke Duran, 3 hits as well. Rangers lost that one 8-2. George Kirby, outstanding performance. What more can you say? We'll keep things rolling here. Game 2, we're just going through the Rangers, different games that they had over the weekend. We missed the weekend series almost entirely, so going to go through, try and give you the highlights, at least my big takeaways from each game. We went through Friday night. Add in any comments, any questions that you guys have. Would love to respond to them. On Friday night, you had the Rangers in a tight one. It was, I believe, on that Friday night game, I think 8-4 was the final score. And we had, a 5-4 game going into the 9th inning. And then in the top of the 9th inning, things kind of started unraveling a little bit, right? You had Pennington come in, who has been so good for the Rangers this year, and gives up a couple of hits. And then after that, Garabito comes in the game, gives up a hit himself. Just not great for the Rangers there late. I think J.P. Crawford had a big triple in that 9th inning. And then the big hit there, Julio Rodriguez singling, scoring a few runs there, scoring a couple of runs, 8-4. Again, the Rangers just didn't figure out Julio Rodriguez, probably not the best guy to pitch to in this series. Max Scherzer, not able to start over the weekend. In fact, going on the injured list, and Max Scherzer done for the year, of course. Curious to see what they end up doing with Scherzer. I really don't see the Rangers bringing him back. I know that the Rangers and the free agency moves are going to be dependent on the Bally TV deal, but I really don't see the Rangers bringing Max Scherzer back. I think at this point, why would you want to? There's really nothing there that makes me want to have Max Scherzer back in this rotation. I love Max and the competitor that he is. And look, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher, no doubt, first ballot. But at this point in his career, do we really want a Max Scherzer overpay? I personally don't want to see that. I don't want to see the Rangers go out, spend the free agent dollars on a guy that couldn't be counted on to perform consistently, couldn't be counted on to be on the field consistently. So for me, I absolutely think that Scherzer is going to find a spot somewhere. I think some team will want to pay him a decent annual salary, see if he's got anything left in the tank. But I don't want to pay Max Scherzer any amount of money only to watch him struggle to stay on the field. And that is where he's at in his career right now. Look, you had an entire offseason with Scherzer where he was recovering from the injury from last postseason, and it was just never the same. Look, you thought he would come back in the middle of the summer after almost a year off from competitive play, never really got his footing, always was dealing with arm fatigue. Another issue coming up totally separate here over the weekend, but I don't think that the Rangers are going to be re-signing Max. I would be very, very surprised. I think Max Scherzer has in all likelihood pitched his last game as a member of the Texas Rangers. Hope to be wrong. I think that if you can get Max back for a really, really good deal, a team-friendly deal, maybe I'm singing a different tune. And that's what I mean by hope to be wrong. Maybe they can work out some very team-friendly contract where it just doesn't make sense not to go out and get him and take a flyer on Max Scherzer. But I don't know what Max's goals are in free agency. Is he trying to get that one big last final payday? It's probably not going to be with the Rangers. Is he trying to just be on a winning team? Probably not going to love what the Rangers showed him last year, but at the same time, I think most of us can agree the Rangers have a legitimate chance of being competitive in 2025, unless you're just a hater. But I think 2025 is going to be a competitive year for the Rangers. There are probably some other teams, though, that are more obvious choices of having a chance to win a World Series. We'll see. We will see. But I absolutely think that Max Scherzer, Hall of Fame legendary pitcher, just don't think that he's going to be back with the Rangers. Let me go to some comments here. Natalie agreed. Defense didn't totally help Leiter. Understood. Not an excuse. I definitely think that if the defense plays better for him on Friday night, it might be a different outing. You never know what errors can do for a player's psyche. There were a lot of errors for the Rangers over the weekend. I believe there were 3 on Friday night and 1 on Saturday night. Not sure. Looks like Rangers had 2 more on Sunday, even in a win. So the Rangers, 6 errors in 3 games. Not the Rangers defense that we knew from 2023. Let's just say that. The Rangers not playing the same defense they did last year. 6 errors in 3 games. Pretty brutal. They get the win on Sunday, so you know what? We'll take it. But nevertheless, not good. Not good for the Rangers defensively. Not something that you want to see. But look, glad they could overcome the 2 errors on Sunday, still get a win. And let's go ahead and move on to Sunday. So we had, of course, Marcus Semien with the big walk-off hit. Good to see the smiles on the boys' faces after that one. Semien especially. We've talked about Marcus Semien, the struggles. We've talked about how maybe Semien, the biggest potential Rangers bounce-back candidate going into 2025. Good to see him go 2 for 4, get the RBI that wins the game, a walk-off style. And we had a few other Rangers of note. Jonah Heim with 2 hits in that game. Leote 3 for 4 on Sunday's game. Good to see some of the bottom of the order guys coming through, no doubt. But Marcus Semien, the big hero. Andrew Heaney, his last start, most likely, I think, at Globe Life Field. We'll see him again later in the week, perhaps out in LA, pitching in his old stomping grounds with the Angels. So Andrew Heaney, for everything that he did for us this year, despite the total lack of run support, gonna miss Andrew Heaney. I really hope the Rangers can find a way with him. I'm not hopeful. A guy like Heaney Little different from Max Scherzer, right? Andrew Heaney, low, early 30s, probably looking to get that multi-year contract, get a high average annual, get that last big deal, right? That's kind of, I think, what the mindset for Andrew Heaney would have to be. Look, that's not to say that he's not going to go a different direction. Maybe loves Texas, wants to stay with the team, likes the environment. Maybe the family likes it in Arlington or DFW area. But I think Andrew Heaney, if you just look at the patterns for what most guys like him are trying to do in a free agency year at his age, most guys are trying to maximize their last several years of prime, and they are trying to get paid. And I think with the year that Andrew Heaney had, probably going to finish the year below 4 ERA, sub 4 ERA, build as a fourth or fifth starter. I really do think Andrew Heaney is going to catch on with the team. Somebody may be willing to overpay for him slightly. Again, if he really loves it in Texas, maybe a deal gets done, but I just can't see Andrew Heaney sticking around. I'd love to be wrong. Would love to be wrong. Natalie says, to me, Leiter is a younger version of Heaney with the higher ceiling. They're both fly ball type pitchers. Yeah, I think that Leiter, we're just going to have to get over, I think, maybe just a little bit. And look, I could very well eat my words on this one, but I think that we're going to have to get over Leiter, first round, second overall pick, and the idea that he needs to be an ace. I think we're always going to kind of compare him to that because guys that are drafted second overall in a draft normally are thought of to be that caliber of player. So I don't think that Leiter looks like he's trending in that direction. Could he be a solid middle of the rotation, slightly back end of the rotation guy? I think that is a strong possibility. Do I think right now that the prospects are looking great for Jack Leiter? No, I don't. And I think that at this point, they would have hoped that Jack Leiter would have been further along. I think right now, the struggles, just not good at this point. You're 3-4 years into your time with the organization. You're a first-round draft pick. You would like to think Leiter would be a little bit further along than what he is right now. He's not. And they're trying to do some toying, some tweaking around with his usage. And it doesn't appear like anything is really working to unlock that potential that they saw in him when they drafted him. And I think that clearly he's going to get more opportunities. A first-round draft pick like Leiter, a top 5, top 3 overall draft pick, they're going to have a decently long runway. But I think you're lying to yourself if you are totally cool with where Jack Leiter is right now. Now, again, going back to the comment from Natalie, are we good with Leiter being a Andrew Heaney type? I mean, look, if he really does turn into that, all is not lost. But I think you have to come down from that initial disappointment of this dude was a first-round, second overall pick. Really, those types of guys, those types of draft picks in that slot should be aces. So for me, I'm still not over the disappointment. I hope that Leiter comes out in spring training and kills it, makes the opening day roster, and I'm just eating all my words from tonight. But something tells me it's going to take a little bit of time, and hopefully Jack Leiter can come around, be a good contributor at the back end of the bullpen next year. He's not going to be needed up front, especially if the Rangers are able to re-sign Evo. But we'll see. DeGrom, Evo, you got Kumar Rocker, Cody Bradford, Malley. You really don't need Leiter next year, if we're being completely honest. You may need him for depth, depending on the injuries and how things are progressing. But you really don't need Leiter in the rotation next year, barring any kind of crazy injury. So with that, we're going to keep things rolling here. I'll talk Rangers as much as you guys want. We are going to recap several of the other games from the weekend. You guys know here we cover all the teams we love from Texas. I'm a big DFW guy, grew up in Arlington, Rangers, Cowboys, Mavericks, and then family, a lot of family with ties to University of Texas. Big Longhorns fan, and we'll cover them throughout the season as well. So football, by the way, tonight, cannot believe The Washington Commanders got the win tonight. We'll start talking Cowboys here. We'll close with Longhorns. Cowboys, we'll get to them in a second. I think back-to-back rough games at home, despite the comeback at the end. But let's talk a little Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels. That guy appears to be the real deal. And I know it's just one game. I think most of us understand the Bengals do not have a very good defense. So I don't want to overreact, but from what I saw, the throws that Jaden Daniels was making tonight, I'm a little bit worried for that Commanders game. I'm not going to lie to you. You've got the Dan Quinn factor. You've got some old guys that have joined Dan Quinn from the team last year. I think that game is going to be pretty evenly matched from what I've seen. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell in these division matchups. Look, the Giants game on Thursday should be a Cowboys easy win. But you know with Dallas that you can get just about anything on any given day. On any given day, you can get any type of game from the Cowboys. But we'll get to that Thursday night game in a second. The Commanders appear to have a little something. They do. I know they've only played the Giants and the Bengals, and they also, of course, got beat pretty bad week 1. But look, on a little 2-game win streak, 2-1, Cowboys looking up at 1-2, and you've got a pretty good-looking quarterback at this point who can run it, who can sling it. Man, that touchdown to put them up, 12? To put the Commanders up 12 over the Bengals. That third down play, that was a phenomenal throw with Jaden Daniels getting annihilated on the play. Dude got laid out and still delivered a beautiful ball. I can't lie, I'm a little bit concerned about Washington. Again, the Dan Quinn factor. Dan, I'm sure, has some good intel on the Cowboys, some good tendencies with Dak. I think that the Commanders have some up-and-coming players. We'll see what happens when they show down. I'm not sure when that Commanders game comes up, but let's talk Cowboys against Ravens here. Cowboys-Ravens. This one, to me, even though the Cowboys come back and they end up making it an interesting game, right? If they were to stop the Ravens on that third down, it would have potentially been Cowboys ball, and the Cowboys would have had a chance to tie or win the game. So the Cowboys make it interesting at the end. But let's be real. The game was an embarrassment for most of all 4 quarters. Got a little interesting there in the 4th. But I think most of us, we saw the comeback happening. Definitely got our hopes up. I got my hopes up a little bit. But this game felt very lopsided for a long time. I can't say I walk away from this game against the Ravens with a lot of positives. You look at the stats and the Cowboys, Dak, the stats look great. 28 of 51, though. I think that leaves a little something to be desired. You're throwing 51 times, only completing in the 20s. 379, a lot of volume, so the numbers are going to be high for Dak. I just focus on the run game. The Cowboys had, 50 yards on the ground all game long. And some of that clearly is game script. The Cowboys are behind. They're not going to be running the ball when they're down 3 touchdowns. So yes, I understand that. But you're never able to really establish that run game early on. The Ravens start getting up to a big lead. And now you're in a situation where you've got to have Dak Prescott pass the ball nonstop. Jake Ferguson leads the team with 6 receptions, 95 yards. Looked like he got a little beat up, though. I don't know what happened, if it was like a separated shoulder or what. Let's see if I can get a little update on Fergie here. Looked like he was kind of holding that shoulder limp a little bit, running off to the sidelines. I don't know, again, if there's been any news on him. It looked like he kind of, like I said, had some kind of shoulder thing going on. I'm not seeing anything, just looking up his profile. I'm going to see if I can find something in the news. But Fergie dealing with some injuries early on, man, getting a little bit beat up here in the first few weeks. So let's see here. Looks like nothing really that I'm seeing. But look, Ferguson, good game from him. And then after that, CeeDee Lamb, who really does not appear to be totally in sync with Dak. I know that the reporters were making a little bit out of that situation. Like CD goes 4 receptions, 67 yards, 7 targets. Look, you want to see CD's targets up in the double digits, if at all possible. You want to see him getting the main volume, getting the majority volume of the throws. You got to get the ball into his hands and find creative ways to do it. Not seeing him and Dak on the same page is frustrating. Granted, it's early. Both of them did not play in the preseason. CD was a holdout for quite some time. It's not a complete shock to me that CeeDee Lamb is not totally in sync with Dak Prescott. We'll see what happens on Thursday. Quick turnaround for the Cowboys. The defense, to me, is another issue, and I'm proud of how they played in the second half. You only give up a touchdown. Impressive, no doubt. But Mike Zimmer, back-to-back weeks, really getting blown out in the first half. 21 points the Ravens put up in the first and second quarters combined. I got to say, I'm a little bit apprehensive about where the Cowboys defense is at this point. I'm willing to give Mike Zimmer some more time. It's hard to come in first few weeks and light it on fire, but I will say Mike Zimmer and the lack of quick adjustments to both the Saints offensive attack and then the Ravens offensive attack, it's a little disheartening. I hope that Mike Zimmer can turn it around. We need to have a nice game against the Giants to restore some confidence. At this point, Mike Zimmer having a tough time against some of the elite teams in the NFL. Look, the Saints, after their clunker of a performance on Sunday against the Eagles, just can't even believe that game. I don't know what the Saints really are. Are they for real? Are they fakers? I have no clue what to think of the Saints. The Eagles, to me, do not look like that great of a team at this point. And the Saints, after the way that they played, I can't say they look that great either. So what does that mean for the Cowboys? I think time is going to have to tell on that one. Let's see how they handle Thursday night. Let's see what they can do against the Giants. But I definitely want to see the Cowboys come out strong on that Thursday night game. Then you get a nice 10-day off period. And then you've got some tough games coming up after that. The Dallas Cowboys do not have a super easy first several weeks of the season. So the way the schedule goes for the boys, first of all, after the Giants game, you've got Pittsburgh on the road. So you got back-to-back road games. You got to go to New York this Thursday. Then you got to go to Pittsburgh. You got the Lions at home. That'll be a great rematch. A bye week in week 7. And then you got San Francisco on the road before you go play Atlanta on the road. And Atlanta looks like a pretty good team too. I mean, they went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. Could have probably won that ball game. At this point, I'm starting to worry as I look at this schedule where the Cowboys are going to be at after 9 weeks of this NFL season. I really don't know. I am absolutely on the edge of my seat to find out, but I just do not know what to make of this team. I'm going to stick with my original prediction. I said 9-8. I think 8-9 might be looking a little bit more likely, unfortunately, after watching these first 3 games. The Browns game looks a little fluky. They don't look to be a very good team this year either. I just really don't know what to make of the Cowboys in 2024 at this point. But on to Thursday night against the Giants. Should be a win for the Cowboys. Hopefully it's not a particularly close win. But as I say, you never know with the Dallas Cowboys on any given day. When you expect them to blow out, it's usually a close game or a loss. When you expect them to not do so well, they end up playing a decent game. It's pretty hard to tell sometimes with these Cowboys, but it's a big reason why everybody loves watching them, whether you hate them or love them. But the Cowboys drop game number 3, 28-25 to the Ravens. And a couple other stats from that game before we move on completely. Lamar, pretty limited in terms of his pass attack, less than 200 yards. But at the same time, you look at the rush yards, and the Ravens were able to gain a lot of ground on the Cowboys. I think the defense is going to have to step up. It is a problem so far. And the defense, I think, was supposed to be, in my estimation, coming into this one, the defense was actually supposed to be one of the more solid points of this team. Parsons, Tank. You had Overshown coming back from injury. You had Kendricks coming over from the Vikings. Played for Mike Zimmer. You have Diggs back healthy. I know Deron Bland is out right now, but you had a great core coming in this year. I think a lot of people expected the defense to be something that the Cowboys could count on. Doesn't look like it right now. Let's just say that. It does not appear that the Cowboys are going to be able to count on that defense yet. Look, I have a feeling they're going to look pretty good against the New York Giants. I'd be really surprised if the defense lays another egg and soils the bed up in New York. But look, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It's the Giants. I'm sorry. The Giants, I know, beat Cleveland. But again, going to my point, I just don't really know what that win really meant. Doesn't seem like it meant anything in week 1. We're beating a Cleveland team that's losing to the Giants, and the Giants looked incredibly ugly their first 2 games. So we'll see on Thursday, man. I wonder, just out of curiosity, I wonder what the line is on that game, the line on the Cowboys and Giants game. I'm just kind of curious, see where they have the Giants playing at home. I can't imagine the Giants are favored by any means, but let's see how close it is. So on Thursday night, it's Giants plus 4.5. Giants plus 4.5. I'll tell you what, it feels like, and I don't say this all the time, but it feels like a good week to take the Cowboys. 4.5 seems like a very small number. Look, I know clearly I'm biased. I've got all of the DFW apparel on tonight, minus the Cowboys stuff. But I think that this is a good week to bet the Cowboys. It's 4.5. I wouldn't be surprised if that number bounces up to 6 before the end of the week. You've got to think after 2 losses, the Cowboys are going to be playing hard on Thursday, trying to get back on a positive track. Look, a big game on Sunday. Not quite prime time, right? But, I mean, the Fox game of the week. You're kind of in front of a whole national audience there. Tom Brady calling the game. And you got embarrassed. You made it interesting at the end, but you basically got embarrassed. I really think that the Cowboys will play a good game up in New York. The last time they went up there, what was it, 40-0 was the win? I think that the Cowboys will be able to get back on track against the Giants. For me, I can't really see a 3-point game. If you like the Cowboys, I think they're going to win by a touchdown or more. I don't see them squeaking out a field goal at the end to win it against the Giants. They really haven't played any close games against the Giants of late. I think that the win against the Browns that the Giants just had makes this number a little bit closer. But for me, I like the Cowboys in this spot. You're not going to hear me say that. I didn't like the Cowboys this past week. The Ravens at 0-2. For the same reasons I like the Cowboys this week. The Ravens were 0-2 coming into the Cowboys game. They were not going to drop to 0-3. I just did not see that happening. I think as a Cowboys fan, you hoped it did, but objectively, I just did not see the Ravens dropping a 3rd straight game. They were going to come out, play hard, be motivated. And I think that the Cowboys will respond in a similar fashion. I think you're going to see them come out, play hard, and have a great game on Thursday night. 4.5, if that number sticks like it is. I mean, 5 is a little bit of a meaningless number. I mean, look, with the weird extra point rules and all that stuff, maybe it's getting a little bit more valuable. But I will say this, again, don't think that the game is going to come down to a field goal. Like the Cowboys are either going to lose it and get embarrassed, which I really don't think is going to happen, or they are going to win the game probably by double digits. That is my prediction for Thursday night. Looking forward to it. Want to see Dak and CD get in a rhythm. Want to see the running game get going. I know that might be too much to ask combined, but could we at least get one or the other? Could we get Dak and CD, or could we get the running game going? I'll be more than happy with one of the two, but 2 out of 2, we'll take that all day long. So Cowboys Giants in New York, New Jersey, technically 5:15 Vegas time out here, 8:15 Eastern time, 7:15 Texas time. And that's the rundown. Let's see what else we've got going on. By the way, matchups next week. The Commanders are going to go play the Cardinals in Arizona. Cardinals are currently -4 on that one. Let's see. Who do you have for the Eagles? The Eagles are playing the Bucks in Tampa Bay. Little playoff rematch there. Okay. We'll see if Baker can take care of business. The Bucks are 2.5-point dogs at home against the Eagles. And even with that win, I just don't feel like the Eagles look great either. Look, the Cowboys don't look great at all, but I just feel like at this point, this is a good year for the Cowboys to be a little bit mediocre. I don't feel like there's any juggernauts in the NFC East right now. Maybe it's a year you can still end up just barely winning the division, even though I think the Cowboys are going to be something like 8-9 or 9-8 this year. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. And Dak historically has been very good against the NFC East. I think that the Cowboys are going to be in the mix late just by nature of the division and it being a little bit weaker, but we'll see what happens. So that's Cowboys stuff. Again, anything Cowboys, anything Rangers. We went through the Rangers series against the Mariners. We went through the Cowboys game. A little bit on the Longhorns here. Arch Manning makes his first career start against Louisiana-Monroe. Man, you had some guys trash talking Arch Manning early on throughout the week, kind of talking because they had beat him in high school. Some of the guys on the Louisiana-Monroe team had beat Arch Manning in high school. So you had a few of those guys running their mouth. Yeah, 51-3 later. Don't think it really mattered that you beat him in high school. Little bit different when you get to Division I college football. So the Longhorns not missing a beat without Quinn Ewers. Can't say anybody really expected them to. I mean, I didn't. I thought this was going to be about this style of game. Arch Manning, his final stats, you had 15 for 29, 258 yards, 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. On the ground, Arch actually did not run it hardly at all. 1 rush for -4 yards. Look, you had the 64-yard run in his first appearance. Jaden Blue, though, went off in this one. 25 carries, 124 yards, 3 touchdowns. Look, when you got a running game like that, you really don't need the quarterback to be super special. They kind of spread the love around a little bit in the passing game. Isaiah Bond, 2 receptions, 75 yards. Matthew Golden, 1 reception, 46. Wingo, 2 receptions for 42 yards. And beyond that, looks like over 10 receivers caught passes. I do like that, spreading the love around a little bit. Look, the games are obviously going to change a little bit when you get into SEC play, but I do like that you're mixing it up and giving guys all these opportunities. I think that's great. So Longhorns get the win 51-3. And on the defensive side of things, you had Benda with 3.5 tackles. You had a few other guys. I think we had Anthony Hill having a nice game. He had a sack and an interception. So back-to-back games for Anthony Hill Jr. looking pretty good on the defensive side of things. Look, this Texas defense is for real. I do think that they are going to continue to play well, even when SEC play opens up this week. Mississippi State coming to Austin. That'll be a 1:15 game from what it looks like. Believe that is 1:15 my time out here in Las Vegas. So about 3:15 start out in Texas, 4:15 Eastern. So we'll see. Hope I'm getting that right. But Texas will be playing the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Mississippi State on the season looks like they just lost to Florida, who is known for being pretty bad this year. Looks like they lost to Toledo as well. They are 0-3 on the year. Actually, I strike that. Looks like they're 1-3 on the year. They beat Eastern Kentucky in week 1, 56-7. Lost to Arizona State, lost to Toledo, lost to Florida. This should be a game that Texas cleans up pretty nicely. The real test for Texas is going to be in 2 weeks, which is Red River. Then after that, you've got the Bulldogs coming to town. This is a nice stretch of games, though, for Texas at home. I'm excited to see the Red River rivalry game. I'm excited to see the Georgia game. Those are going to be probably the 2 biggest games of the season for Texas. And then, of course, the A&M game at the end. I don't know if A&M is going to be relevant in the standings. Clearly, that's a huge rivalry game. But if you're talking about standings, you're talking about really, really elite cream of the crop teams. I think Sooners and I think the Georgia Bulldog game is going to be the 2 big ones for Texas this year. Looking forward to it. 3:15 in Texas. That's good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, great game. Tristan, what's up, by the way? Great game by Manning. Go Longhorns. Hook 'em horns. Great to see the Longhorns off to this start. Number 1 overall. I'm ready for SEC play. Mississippi State, not really the team that is the most flashy for our very first SEC game, but you know what? You got to start somewhere. You can only play the teams in front of you. Hopefully the Horns take care of business. I wonder if Ewers is going to be starting. Looks like an ESPN article as of today, 11 hours ago, number 1 Horns unsure of Ewers' status for SEC debut. Look, I think that they can probably win the game without Ewers. I think Arch Manning probably can get you a win if you need to sit Ewers. And unfortunately, you just don't know what SEC play is going to hold. So you don't want to drop this game. I think if you are going to sit Quinn and you're going to start Arch, maybe you have Quinn on standby just in case, and you just hope that Arch can get off to a good start. I just don't think you want to drop this game to Mississippi State with some of the mashups that you've got coming up later in the SEC gauntlet. This is not a game you want to lose. I do think Arch can get the job done against Mississippi State at home. You're not going to a hostile environment. But the Longhorns don't want to drop that game. They do not want to drop this Saturday game going into the bye week. You want to have a quality, a positive win, and then build off that going into Red River. So I think that if they do give Arch Manning the start, Quinn Ewers, clearly not 100%, and the idea would be long-term health. You got to get him good to go for Red River in the Georgia game. But that being said, I sure would like to see Quinn, if he's healthy, start that SEC game. Quinn's the guy, regardless of how Arch has played. I think we saw Arch come a little bit back down to earth on Saturday. Still had some great stat lines, but I think we saw Arch come a little bit more back down to earth. So we'll see what happens with Quinn Ewers. My hope, he's healthy, he's good to go Saturday, gets a little tune-up going into the bye week, and then going into the Red River game on October the 12th, followed up by the Georgia Bulldogs coming to town on October 19th. Man, those are going to be 2 great back-to-back weeks of football. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Well, y'all, let me keep going here. Yeah, going back to the Cowboys. Allison, what's up? If you're still hanging out. Yeah, I agree. Something just feels a little off with the Eagles. Look, it's not like they're a bad team. They've got a lot of weapons. They've still got Devontae Smith. You've got Dallas Goedert. You've got A.J. Brown. You've still got some elite weapons. Jalen Hurts, I think, took a step back last year. Looks a little bit shaky this year. Clearly, Saquon Barkley is there. Look, the Eagles have some weapons, but I don't watch the Eagles and think, man, the Cowboys just could not hang with this team at all. And I don't say that thinking that the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC by any means, but I think the eye test would tell you there's a lot of parity in the NFC East right now. Personally, I think that the Eagles, maybe it is Jason Kelsey. I don't know. I don't think that they've got the best coach. I'm not a big Sirianni fan. I don't think that he has uh, don't think he has that X factor that's needed to get the team back to the Super Bowl. I think he's made some questionable decisions already this year. I've got some friends that are Eagles fans. It's kind of a mixed bag on Sirianni. Personally, I think that the Eagles probably do better at the head coaching position. They just do not feel like as good as they were last year. And they were kind of reeling at the end of last year, if you remember. Look, we'll see what happens on the field. That's really all you can tell at this point. What happens on the field, we'll see. But right now, the Cowboys need a win. You got to start with New York. Hopefully, they can get back on track in New Jersey on Thursday Night Football in front of a national audience. That is absolutely what I would like to see. Can we get a little bit of a no sweat game while we're at it? Please. My goodness. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the night. Let me check comments on TikTok. I've really been neglecting y'all tonight, so you got to have to forgive me. Got a little baseball comment here. How do you see the Marlins in the future? Do you see them winning? Look, I'm not going to pretend to be totally up to date on the Marlins. It doesn't feel like they're going to be back next year, barring some free agent signings, but I think the Marlins are most likely going to be down at the bottom for a second or two, if you know what I mean. That'd be my prediction there. I think they're going to get a new manager. I don't think Skip Schumacher is going to be making it after this year, so we'll see what happens. Somebody said, as a Mets fan, I love Acuna. Thank you. Luis Angel Acuna gets traded for Max Scherzer last year. Look, the Rangers get a World Series, so can you really complain? I don't think so. But yeah, it's painful to see Acuna raking right now for the Mets, but I think we all kind of knew that was going to happen. Big Game James said, I know he probably took off by now. As a Mariners fan, we can bypass Sunday's game. Nice. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. Thank you so much. Let me go ahead and start wrapping things up here. But if you're not following the account already, not subscribed to the channel, would greatly appreciate you doing so. Look, if you know somebody that loves baseball, football, NFL, college, loves the NBA, loves DFW, Texas sports, please send them my way. I would love to keep growing this good group of people we got talking sports. It's why I started this. It's why I love it. And I appreciate all of y'all, your comments, tuning in, all the likes, the views. It means a lot. I'm very, very grateful. Yep. It's about that time, isn't it? It is past midnight in Texas, getting late here in Vegas. So I'm going to call it a day. We will be back later on in the week. We will go live on Thursday to talk a little Rangers and to talk Cowboys. We'll do a little Rangers-Cowboys combo on Thursday. And I will be back to talk more Rangers with their upcoming series with Oakland coming up. I think those will be some later games. So we'll be doing some Right On Rangers live late night edition after dark. Come join or catch us on the replay. All of our lives are on Facebook or YouTube at Right On Rangers after every live show is over. Hope y'all have a great rest of your Monday. Enjoy the rest of the week ahead. Come back, hang out with us again later this week. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers and go Cowboys.